time. We perceive it as a river, flowing ever forward, carrying us from the cradle to the grave. Each moment is born, lived, and then vanishes, becoming a memory. But what if, for some, the river stops flowing? What if a single, terrible moment becomes an eternal, unyielding present?
Most ghost stories speak of spirits tied to a place, a haunted house, a lonely road, an ancient battlefield. These entities are said to wander, to interact, sometimes with purpose, sometimes with malice. But there is another, perhaps more tragic, form of haunting. A haunting not of a conscious spirit, but of a memory. An event so saturated with raw emotion, with terror, grief, or agony, that it burns itself into the very fabric of the environment.
This is the story of a residual haunting, the tale of a ghost trapped not in a location, but in a loop, a spirit forced to perpetually relive the final, horrifying moments of its life, compelling anyone who bears witness to watch the same tragedy unfold again and again. Our story takes us to the desolate, wind-scoured coast of northern England, to a place known as Blackwood Point. There, perched precariously on the edge of jagged, sea-battered cliffs, stands a long decommissioned lighthouse. Its white paint is peeling, its ironwork is rusted a deep, bloody brown by the salty air. Even on the sunniest of days, the lighthouse seems to cast a long, cold shadow. The locals speak of it in hushed tones. They call it the Watcher's Folly. And they speak of its ghost, Elara.
The legend is as old as the rust on the lighthouse door. It dates back to the late 19th century. Elara was the daughter of the lighthouse keeper, a young woman known for her fierce spirit and a love that was as boundless as the ocean she watched every day. She was betrothed to a sailor named Liam, whose ship was a frequent visitor to the nearby port.
Their love story was one of patient waiting. Elara would spend her days scanning the horizon, her nights watching the lighthouse beam, the very light her father tended, sweep across the dark waters, a beacon to guide her love safely home. One autumn, a storm of unprecedented fury descended upon the coast. It was a monster of wind and water, a churning gray nightmare that swallowed ships whole. Liam's vessel, the Sea Serpent, was due to return. As the storm raged for a second day, a frantic and desperate Elara refused to believe the worst. Against her father's desperate pleas, she insisted she could see a faint light out in the tempest, a ship in distress.
Consumed by a desperate hope, she did the unthinkable. She unbolted the heavy door and stepped out onto the narrow, slick stone of the lighthouse's external gallery, high above the crashing waves. The wind tore at her, whipping her hair and clothes. The spray was like 1,000 tiny needles against her skin. She clung to the iron railing, her eyes straining to pierce the maelstrom.
And that is where the moment was forged, the moment that would refuse to become a memory.
Witnesses from a fishing boat struggling to make it back to the harbor reported seeing her, a lone, fragile figure silhouetted against the storm. They saw her lean out over the railing, saw her raise a hand to shield her eyes, and then they saw the rogue wave. A colossal wall of black water that slammed against the base of the cliffs with the force of an explosion, sending a plume of water and foam rocketing up the side of the lighthouse.
The wave struck the gallery. For a second, Elara was gone, engulfed by the spray. And then, as the water receded, she was gone for good. The railing was twisted and broken. Her desperate cry was swallowed by the roar of the storm.
Elara's body was never found. Liam's ship never returned. The storm had claimed them both. But Elara never truly left.
This is not a ghost that interacts. It does not whisper names in the dark or move objects. Elara's ghost is an echo, an imprint of pure, unadulterated despair. And those who visit Blackwood Point on the anniversary of that fateful storm, or sometimes on any night when the wind and the sea conspire to recreate those conditions, they become unwilling audience members to a play that has no end. Let's consider the account of Sarah and Ben, a young couple who visited the lighthouse a few years ago. They were amateur photographers, skeptics drawn by the dramatic landscape, not the local folklore. They arrived on a calm, overcast evening in October.
Here is an excerpt from Sarah's blog post about the experience.
The air grew cold, not just a little chilly, but a sudden deep bone-aching cold that had nothing to do with the weather. The wind, which had been just a breeze, began to howl around the tower with a strange, mournful sound. Ben checked the weather app on his phone. No wind advisory, nothing. It was localized, right there at the lighthouse. We both felt it, a palpable sense of dread, of something being horribly wrong.
And then we heard it. A faint cry, a woman's voice, filled with such anguish it made the hair on my arm stand up. We looked up towards the top of the lighthouse, and we saw her.
It wasn't a solid figure. It was like heat haze, a shimmering distortion in the air. But it had a form, the form of a young woman in a long dress, clinging to the railing of the gallery. We couldn't make out her face, but we could feel her desperation. She leaned forward, scanning the horizon. The wind sound intensified into a roar. For a moment, the world seemed to go silent, all except for that wind. And then she fell.
It wasn't a jump. She was ripped from the gallery, a silent, graceful arc into the darkness below. There was no sound, no impact, just the sight of her form tumbling down, fading into nothingness before it could even reach the rocks. And then it was over. The wind died down, the unnatural cold vanished. We were just two people standing in the twilight, our hearts pounding in our chests. We didn't take a single photograph. Sarah and Ben's experience is not unique. It is the classic Blackwood Point sighting. The sudden temperature drop, the phantom wind, the apparition, the fall. Always the same sequence of events, always the same silent, heartbreaking plummet.
Paranormal investigators have flocked to the site for decades, armed with thermal cameras, EMF meters, and sensitive audio equipment. One team, led by a Dr. Alastair Finch, spent a week at the lighthouse, documenting the phenomenon.
Dr. Finch proposed that the Blackwood Point haunting is the quintessential example of the stone tape theory. This theory suggests that geologic materials like the stone of the lighthouse and cliffs and elements like water can absorb and store energy from intense emotional events. Like a psychic videotape, the location records the moment. Under specific atmospheric conditions, the right humidity, the right barometric pressure, the right time of year, the recording plays back.
During their investigation, Finch's team captured compelling evidence. Their thermal cameras registered a distinct, human-shaped coal spot appearing on the gallery, dropping the ambient temperature by nearly 15 degrees Celsius in seconds. Their audio recorders, however, picked up something even more chilling. During the event, buried deep within the sound of the phantom wind was a single, repeated word, an electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP. When cleaned up in the lab, the whisper was clear. It said,
Liam, Liam.
Liam, the name of her lost love. This discovery added a new layer of tragedy to the haunting. It suggested that the entire event, the very energy that powers this endless loop, is fueled by one last, desperate call to the man she was trying to save, or to be saved by. So what is it that witnesses are actually seeing? Are they seeing the conscious spirit of Elara, doomed to suffer her death for eternity? Most researchers, including Dr. Finch, believe the answer is, mercifully, no.
Elara, the person, is long gone. Her soul, one would hope, is at peace. What remains is a psychic scar, an echo without a voice, a memory without a mind. She is not aware of the witnesses. She is not aware of the passing of centuries. She is not aware of her own endless fall. She is simply an artifact of a moment's unbearable pain, a fragment of time that is broken and cannot heal.
Think of it like a glitch in reality, a single frame from the film of history, cut out and pasted over the present again and again. She is forever 19 years old. The storm is forever raging. Her hope is forever being extinguished as she falls.
This raises a profound and unsettling question. If an event can be imprinted so powerfully, what does that say about the nature of time and memory itself? Are our greatest joys, our deepest sorrows, also leaving faint traces on the world around us? Are the walls of our homes silent witnesses to our lives, holding on to the energy of our laughter and our tears?
The Ghosts of Elara is more than just a frightening tale to be told around a campfire. It is a monument to the power of human emotion, a testament to a love so strong it defied a storm, and a grief so deep it shattered time itself. For the people who have witnessed the loop, the experience is transformative. They do not leave feeling scared, as one might after a typical ghostly encounter. They leave feeling an immense, profound sadness. They have been forced to watch a young woman die. They have become part of the tragedy, their own shock and horror perhaps, adding a minuscule drop of energy to the psychic battery that keeps the memory alive.
There have been attempts to cleanse the site,
Exorcisms, spiritual blessings, and even scientific experiments designed to dissipate the energy have all been performed. None have worked. The echo is too strong, the emotional wound too deep. Elara is as much a part of that lighthouse now as the stone it was built from.
So if you ever find yourself on that desolate stretch of the English coast and you see the lonely silhouette of the Blackwood Point lighthouse against a brooding sky, be cautious. You might feel a sudden chill. You might hear a phantom wind begin to cry. And if you look up, you may be chosen as the next witness. You may see a shimmering figure on the gallery, her form a testament to a love that was stronger than life, and a tragedy that is stronger than death.
You will watch as she scans the sea for a ship that will never come. You will watch as a phantom wave rises to claim her, and you will watch as she falls silently into the endless loop of her final moment. You will not be seeing a ghost. You will be seeing a memory, an echo of a fall, trapped in the amber of time, replaying its sorrow for anyone who dares to watch. She is the storm, she is the warning, and she is forever falling.